What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Ryan Aranda here, my best life better wife. And today I want to just do something a little bit different, right? Address what's going on in the world, in the United States, right? Um, have have a growing number of followers, and a lot of you guys know how I feel about the travel space in general. A lot of you guys know my backstory, my history, why I'm here in Paraguay, and all that good stuff. And if you're new to the channel, you guys can check out those videos as well. I've been living here in Paraguay for a year, and yeah, so the most recent thing that happened is U.S. is at war with Iran, right? And this is not good for anybody, to say the least. It's not good for us expats who live abroad. It's not good for anybody stateside. It's not good for our military, right? Iran has, the ability to reach pretty much every single base, American base in the Middle East. So I was gonna say it, man. Trump's an idiot, and he bought into the Netanyahu bait, right, to reel the U.S. into this war. Who knows what back-end deals are going on for bribery, right? Bribery is essentially legal in the United States of America. Call it lobbying, whether you want to talk about AIPAC or whatever, that bribe politicians on both sides of the aisle, right? So that's why we're always at Israel's beck and call, right? That's why we fund them. That's why we're there literally here to support their war, and now we even entered it. And I know a lot of people think that, oh, Trump is just wrapping this up. No, he's starting this, just like Israel did. And so, there's a lot of people giving their political commentary and all that. But this is exactly what the United States of America did not need. The United States of America, in particular, Americans, regular, normal people, do not need this goddamn war. We don't need this fucking war, right? People are already suffering. Younger folks, couples, families, older folks who are trying to retire with a little bit of dignity. Nobody needed this war. It's incredibly asinine that it started. Not only that, there's multiple deaths on the Israeli side and way more on the Iranian side, right? And I foresee that there's going to be American deaths, right? And those, we know exactly who to blame for those. Okay, I'm blaming the president because this was a completely unnecessary war. There's absolutely no evidence that Iran has nukes. None of that. Netanyahu's been saying that shit since 1992, since I was 1 fucking years old. 33 years they've been saber rattling Netanyahu, because he wanted to he wants all the Muslim countries around him to be more unstable, right? I'm not gonna get into all of that. You guys can watch it, like people who are deep into that. But my message is just to the average American, the average global citizen. We don't need this shit. This could actually spark a world war. Right now, I know what you're thinking. Yeah, the Middle East kind of stays to the Middle East, but this is different. Iran has different allies. Iran is backed by China and Russia, right? And Iran is incredibly technologically advanced. It's not like Iraq, right? So who knows what's going to happen, man? But I know what this is not good for. This is not good for economic stability back home. Like, Americans weren't already dealing with enough with inflation, with high house prices. You think that this is going to help? No, this quote unquote saved one man's political career, Netanyahu. But also, this is what unpopular presidents have done in the past. When Trump is very unpopular right now, the only thing that he's a little bit popular on is the immigration stuff, which that shit is really ugly right now. You know what I mean? So he needed something to keep the eyes off him. You know, I'm not going to get too conspiratorial either, but the whole Epstein files stuff that Elon Musk, you know, wanted to, or pretty much admitted to the world that, yeah, Trump is in those files. I certainly believe it. I'm sure Bill Clinton's in those files too. You know, so in order for us to not think about that kind of stuff, the deep-seated corruption and highly immoral stuff, arguably some of the most immoral stuff you could possibly do as a human being, pedophilia and all that crazy shit, you know, like, so what did he do? This is a distraction. This is the biggest distraction, starting a war, you know? And so while eggs are $12 for a dozen in some American cities, hell, even more in some cities, or if they're even $6, $7, that's what Americans actually care about. Affordable prices, affordable houses. So, you know, this war, man, this war is completely unnecessary, and people are going to suffer. And people are going to suffer stateside again, economically. I guarantee you American lives will be lost in the Middle East. I'm no fan of the American empire. I think we need to fucking downscale all of our goddamn bases around the world. We don't need to be the military's or the world's policemen. You know, we need to take care of American citizens. Healthcare, you know, economic populist shit that every other fucking advanced society in the world has. Hell, even Paraguay, you have better access to care here in Paraguay. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. But I guess the last part of my message is, you know, a lot of us saw this coming, not this exact incident with Iran, but we saw the instability, especially after COVID, right? Whether it be inflation, which is skyrocketing out of control, which the fucking this administration and the last administration lie about and pretend that it's only like fucking 10%, when reality inflation is like 50%, like across the board for pretty much everything. Not only that, but house prices are absolutely out of control. You have CNBC clips about normal families, police officers who make $120,000 a year can't even find a decent house for their growing families, you know? So people are suffering in silence, man. Not everybody's on the YouTube declaring their problems to the world. But there are a lot of Americans suffering. And if you guys think that a war is going to help, I mean, you know, what did the last war cost? Trillions of dollars. This war is going to be even more expensive and more costly. You know, it's going to create. I was just watching a documentary on Vietnam. Ever since Vietnam, it's called the credibility gap, right? Which less and less Americans trust in your government, right? After that war, and then when Iraq happened, is 2.0, and now this again. They say they have fucking weapons of mass destruction and God knows what else, and it's completely not true. That no, they don't. Even if they did, it's still not a reason for us to go in bombing, because anything that comes back, well, America started it, and a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it's true, man. America has been the bully for many, many decades now. You know, we have not been the liberators since World War II, right? So, you know, not only that, man, but Americans are going to lose respect around the world. We were already losing respect around the world through Bush. I remember coming down here, and he was just a fucking laughing stock. Obama, yeah, I don't care how you guys actually feel about politics within the U.S., but I'm telling you how the rest of the world looks at us. I got a huge rainstorm coming in, just in case you hear rain and a lady cooking. But you know, we were respected on a more global scale when Obama was in presidency. You know, you guys can argue with me about that, but it's true. You know, with the one exception of Libya, that was pretty much the one foreign policy F up of Clinton and Obama, right? And so, you know, with Trump in presidency, guys, from last presidency to this time around with Trump, we're a fucking joke. Seriously, we are. Most advanced countries in the world would never elect such a clown, right? And I totally understand that Joe Biden slept for 4 goddamn years, didn't do a single fucking thing to materially improve our lives. So I understand why a lot of people voted for Trump. I did a whole video on that back in November of last year. And I also, a big conclusion of that were the masses, but in particularly men, were left behind. We were never included in the conversation. Economic solutions hit us on a very personal, deep level because we don't have the ability to provide, to thrive in our societies, right? In American society. So, you know, if anybody thinks that this war or what's going on in the world is going to make any of this better, no. It's going to make us less respected if you're abroad. Hell, even if you travel. You know, we're losing alliances. We were already losing alliances with Trump bullying Canada and Mexico and Greenland and Panama, and just no reason for this stuff, you know? And yeah, you know, it's a sad state of affairs, you guys. It really is. I guess the last thing I'll just close out on is this is exactly why a lot of, like I was sort of getting to before, this is exactly why you don't wait until the last minute to get things like residency, to start thinking on a more global level. You do not need, you physically do not need to be in the United States for the rest of your lives and take week trips to Italy or whatever the fuck. Plan a future. Plan your retirement somewhere affordable. I'm telling you, less than no. I guarantee you, at least in my generation, less than 10% are going to be able to afford retirement. That's not me saying it. That's the numbers that are playing out. Now, if you guys want to be the most successful thing in the world, best entrepreneur ever, highest paid salary, lawyer, doctor, etc., go for it. Go for it. You'll be part of that 10% that can afford to retire. But for everybody else who's grinding just as hard, everybody else who's trying their best between the multiple jobs they're doing just to survive, guys, you guys need to be on residency abroad. You need to be like some of my friends here who are looking, along with myself, from prices ranging from $40,000 to $80,000, whether they're smaller houses or condos. You know, instead of looking at houses for $300,000 to $700,000 in the States. You know, and then we're not even including everything else you tack on with the insane property taxes and the CN. You guys, you know what I mean. The States is unaffordable, and if anybody thinks a war is going to help that, I mean, they're highly mistaken, right? So a lot of us saw something very, very unstable coming, right? We didn't know exactly what would be, another pandemic or maybe a world war, something like that. But we saw this play out years ago. It wasn't just the passport bros and shit. Yes, it is nice. That is a very nice feature as a man, going abroad, dating more feminine women, beautiful, more feminine women, for sure. Literally got a wonderful lady cooking a meal right here, because she loves to, and I like to cook too. So don't come at me with that bullshit. I'm just saying, you know, a lot of people think that, especially us younger guys, that we're just moving just to F around. No, man. But most of this had to do with securing a financial future that is attainable, right? And honestly, also, at least here in Latin America, where I'm at in Paraguay, it's going to be one of the safest places geographically on planet Earth to be if something really does pop off. Europe is unstable. Asia is unstable. The Middle East is the most unstable. I mean, parts of Africa are probably going to be unstable for the rest of the time. You know, I guess Australia, but then you're just dealing with high price of living there too. And Australia has alliances as well. So, this is arguably one of the last, at least for continents, one of the last stable regions on Earth, the southern cone of South America, right? So southern Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay, arguably Chile, and Uruguay, right? So yeah, I don't got much to say, man, but just imagine another 4 or 5 years that if you're not taking action now, think about something else that could happen. Second pandemic, another war. Maybe this doesn't devolve into a world war, but what if something else does? What if bread costs $20 a loaf in another 5 to 10 years? Bread here costs $1, less actually. Go watch my last video on groceries. You can get a bunch of bakery bread for like 30 to 40 cents. That'll last you a week for sandwiches or whatever. Just literally just eating bread. And I literally, yeah, I'm gonna bring up prices, but I got 30 eggs for less than $4. 30, not a dozen, 30. You know, so I know I'm preaching, but for the love of God, anybody who's out there listening, try to take action now so you can secure a brighter future tomorrow. Try it. If you're in any way possible, try to make it a plan A, meaning that live life in your younger years. Plan B, I get it. You hold on to citizenship or residency for retirement purposes. I understand the concept, but if in any way possible you are able to make it broad before that, try to make it happen. It's not easy. I lay out a pretty decent blueprint of how I was able to do it. But it's incredibly beneficial and arguably necessary, especially for younger generations, especially if you're not going to make insane amounts of money. Anyways, I'll stop there. Just my thoughts on the world, my thoughts on America, the crazy stuff going on with war, all that. I'm out of here. Take care of yourselves, you guys. Brian at My Best Life Paraguay. Keep hitting me up if you guys want to chat. If you guys want consultations about Paraguay in general, how to move here, all that good stuff, let me know. I'm also partnering with individuals for residency, so I can point you guys in the right direction for residency. And yeah, from there, just hang in there, guys. I know our governments are effing up just right and left. Nothing material gets better for a lot of Westerners, but especially Americans. Our government left us behind years ago. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to be a much older man before things start turning in the right direction. Okay? Okay, I'm out. Take care of you guys. Peace.